Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kira, the DC Bar Foundation, and the selection committee for this honor. And to Kira and the entire staff of the DC Bar Foundation, thank you for showing up for low-income families in DC every day and supporting the work of countless lawyers who are doing what we can to right injustice. I have to pause there and acknowledge that I have so many friends and colleagues in this community who are equally or more deserving of this award. Thanks to you for supporting me and collaborating with me. And a few more thanks to Jonathan Smith, Eric Angel, Jennifer Berger, and Julie Becker for taking a chance on me 15 years ago when I applied to be a staff attorney at Legal Aid. I hope you all will agree that it's worked out okay. And to Jonathan, Eric, and Chinlei for your amazing leadership of Legal Aid, where I've found room to become the attorney and advocate that I wanted to be. I only hope I've done the same for all of the attorneys I've supervised. To my dad, Frank, my inspiration, who raised 4 kids on his own while remaining a kick-ass lawyer. Fun fact, my dad and Chin met years ago when they both worked on a school desegregation case in Louisville, Kentucky, where I grew up. As I've told Chin, I may be in my 40s, but I still love making my dad proud. To my siblings, Kathy, Robert, Bob, and Christine, who have always been my rock of support, and to my Aunt Patricia and so many others in my village that raised me. To my children, Sarah and Rebecca, the little human beings that I want to make proud. Through my work, I'm doing my best to teach them that their most important mission in life is to afford equal dignity and respect to all human beings and to make this earth a better place. But maybe most importantly, to my mom, Molly, who's no longer with us. My mom had schizophrenia, and that simple fact changed my life for the better. Because as a child, I saw my mom descend into paranoia and delusions, lose her marriage and custody of her children, lose many jobs, lose her housing, lose her worldly possessions, including my baby books and pictures, and eventually end up selling newspapers on a corner so she could get quarters to call her children. But I also saw my mom recover. She connected to community-based organizations, social workers, case managers, and yes, legal services lawyers. They helped her get SSI and food stamps, move from transitional housing to a rooming house, to getting her own voucher and living independently. As a young adult, I visited my mom in all of those places, as well as numerous psychiatric wards and state hospitals. I saw in real life the incredible impact that a housing voucher can have. My mom died at the age of 65, far too young, but actually a ripe old age for someone who had endured so much. For the last 10 years of her life, she was safe, she was happy, she was not hospitalized, she was stable, and she had loving relationships with her 4 children and her 4 grandchildren. Stable housing made a world of difference for her. And that brings me to my experiences as a legal services attorney. I came to Legal Aid 15 years ago with all of those experiences as a child, but also as a white person of privilege. And my dad, God bless him, always made sure we knew that, despite any challenges we confronted and he confronted, that we were privileged. And yet, whatever I thought I knew about privilege and racism and other isms when I came to Legal Aid, I knew nothing. I'm so thankful for my clients, for everything they've taught me during the past 15 years. This is a lifelong journey for me and so many of us. Tonight, I could tell you about all of the amazing cases I've worked on. I could tell you about my high points, my low points, my successes, my failures, but that's not what matters to me most about this work. I want to talk about my clients, because my favorite moments always are those I spend with my clients and members of my client community. One of my favorite clients in recent years is a father of 6 kids who lived in terrible conditions in a property owned by slumlord Sanford Capital. He worked full-time and was just trying to make it. I visited his home several times. I met his kids and his partner, and we talked about his dreams and plans for buying a house one day. We eventually went to trial in his case about non-payment of rent and housing code violations. What I will never forget is when I asked him how the conditions in their home had affected him and his family. He talked about how his kids would pick up their backpacks in the morning before going to school and shake them off to get rid of the roaches, so they wouldn't be embarrassed in front of the other kids. Now, we were able to get repairs to his home and a significant rent refund, but that doesn't make it right for him and his family. We, as residents of DC and its surrounding jurisdictions, need to ask ourselves every day, continuously, why we allow this to happen. How can we fix it? Why do we allow families to live this way? Why do we create an economic structure in which a father who works full-time for his family cannot do any better? And we also need to ask the hard questions about why someone like him needs a lawyer to try to approximate justice when he goes to court. I'm also thinking tonight about all of those tenants I've worked with in our struggles for systemic change. I've sat at the table with tenants whose lived experiences speak better than anything I can say. I'm so grateful to be able to partner with them. They're amazing. But to be honest, when I sit in meetings with council members and staff with these tenants, and we discuss things like rent control, all I can think about is this. I know the statistics. I'm a data geek. And those statistics suggest that 5 or 10 years from now, many of those tenants and their families and their communities will no longer be there unless we do something dramatic to change the path we are on. Many of them are lifelong district residents going back generations, and they just can't make it anymore. They're the ones being displaced from the district. That is one of many calls for justice in 2020 that we need to keep trying to answer. And it cannot be just words or ideas. I'm a member of a Unitarian Universalist congregation, and our minister often challenges us with a quote from William Ellery Channing: "May your life preach more loudly than your lips." When I think about the past nearly 8 months living through a global pandemic, I'm in awe of our staff attorneys and non-attorney staff at Legal Aid, who are working full-time and then some under terribly trying conditions, and then going off the clock so they can show up at protests, support community-based organizations, help get out the vote. They live their beliefs every day, and it's a privilege to be a part of that community. Thank you.